Hello, welcome on in. So we're here with the lovely Rita Stephen, who is with Cornwall Faith Forum. So we here at Chaos work closely with the Cornwall Faith Forum, and Rita is here to tell us a little bit more about the education and community work they do, focusing on peace. We're also going to talk more about their upcoming Diversi-Tea event at the Dor Kemmyn Peace Field. So thank you for coming on today, Rita. Oh, sorry, go on.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Great. So firstly, for those not aware, could you tell us a little bit more about the Cornwall Faith Forum?
Yeah, it started about 10 years ago, and it brought people together of all different faiths, all minority groups. So we work with anyone of faith and anyone of not of faith, because the focus is on peace. So the whole focus is to bring people together for the benefit of peace and for the benefit of everyone else. So we work with anyone. So we work with the Baha'i community, the Buddhist community, the pagan community, the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Hindu community, the Christian community, obviously, and anyone else who is interested. And so we started because in beginning, 10 years ago, none of the small faith communities had anywhere to come together. So they would hire village halls. The pagans obviously meet outside, but they had nowhere to meet. There wasn't a mosque or a synagogue or anything in Cornwall. So the people got together to work on maybe creating an interfaith centre for Cornwall.
Amazing.
We're still working it. So our main areas of work are building for peace, which is building towards, and could even be a small, simple, grass-topped structure to bring people of faith together.
Oh, that's amazing. So where did that come from? What was the inspiration behind creating all of it?
But the inspiration behind that was, of course, that if you're of a different faith, to go into the cathedral or a church can be a little bit difficult, or it might feel a bit difficult. It's in the same way that it might be difficult if you're not of faith to actually go into a church if you don't feel that's where you really belong. It's the same thing. So we wanted to create a neutral space, created on peace, which is an oval with all natural elements, so that people would feel, when they walked into this building, immediately a feeling of peace. But also, and that would then be an education centre. So we're still working on that. However, because of the whole lockdown, our education has become far more online.
Yeah. Okay. Has it been going well? Have people been enjoying it?
Yes, because we're doing building for peace, which is to work towards a building. We do sharing for peace, which is bringing people together, because of course the main thing is that if you grew up in London or in Bristol or in Exeter, you would at school you would have your friend next door to you would maybe be a Buddhist or a pagan or a Muslim. So you would go to each other's houses, you would learn about each other's festivals naturally, and that's the best way to learn. But Cornish children, teenagers, haven't got that opportunity.
It's so true. I mean, because I grew up in Cornwall, and there, especially at my school, there was absolutely no multiculturalism at all. Really, I think there were maybe 2 people of different faiths and things. It was unreal.
Exactly, and that's still the case. And the problem with that is that all the information you get of people of different faiths is from the news, and in the news, the focus on the news is always about strife, not about peace.
Yeah.
So the news tells you that people of faith are in conflict with each other, and that's definitely not the case in Cornwall. In Cornwall, people of faith work really closely together, and with sharing for peace, apart from sharing each other's festivals. So we had, for example, 2 Hindu, Sanjay, who used to be quite a famous chef in Cornwall, people might remember him, Sanjay Kumar. He knew nobody else from a Hindu faith, so he would sit with his wife in front of their cupboards on their own at Diwali, which of course Diwali in India is this amazing feast of light and candles and sharing, and suddenly they were on their own and nobody knew it was Diwali, because you have to understand, when it's Christmas, everyone knows it's Christmas. So if you would go for a walk, people will still in Cornwall say Happy Christmas to each other, even if they don't know you. But if it's Diwali and nobody knows it's Diwali, nobody says anything to you. So it makes it feel really more alienating. Yeah. So one of the first things we do with the sharing is share each other's festivals. So we do Eid at the end of Ramadan for the Muslim faith, Diwali, Wesak for the Buddhists. It's a Buddhist festival with washing the Buddha. We do Pesach, which is a Jewish festival. So we share each other's festivals, as well as just eating a lot of food together.
I bet that's incredible. And food always brings people together, doesn't it? It really does. It's something great. That's just universal.
I know, and that was difficult during the lockdown because we always bring cakes, and which will be happening on Sunday. We always share food because food is so amazingly to do it also with memories and childhood. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But we couldn't do that, but now we can do that again, so it's really exciting.
So what's the experience like here in Cornwall when it kind of comes to that diversity of different faiths and backgrounds?
Well, because the people of different faiths were in such small groups that I don't think that people would even tell anyone in their working environment or their friends' environment they were of faith. And so I think it's mainly that people felt they had to keep that hidden, that part of themselves.
Yeah.
But now it's becoming a bit bigger. But if I can give you an example of, there's a lovely person in Truro College, and he moved from London, and obviously he had lots of Muslim friends in London. And when he moved to Truro College, there was nobody. And Truro College has 5,000 students. None of them were Muslim. So he was really shocked. He then found it very difficult to explain to his friends why it was so important to him.
Yeah.
Because in the Western world, faith is declining, while in the whole of the world, it's actually becoming more important. And if you're a young person, I think the tendency is to keep that part of yourself completely hidden, which is sad.
Yeah, I mean, historically, it was never the case, I suppose, was it? Everyone was very much, it was a really big thing, and everyone would go and do certain events together, or like pray together, and every Sunday, in England we go to church, or we used to, but it's definitely had a massive decline. I mean, I know a couple people in my friendship circle who are religious, but in different ways. It's more about it's kind of separate. I think people are viewing, in my experience, spirituality, so more so Eastern religions, such as Buddhism and Taoism and those kind of things, are becoming more popular, it seems, and Christianity is kind of at more of a decline from
It is, and I think the most important thing to realise that all faiths have enormous amount in common, and the name of the Cornwall Faith Forum is actually Dor Kemmyn, and Dor Kemmyn means common ground in Cornish. But it also, if you listen to the word Dor Kemmyn, it sounds like Dor come in.
I love that.
It's a very welcoming thing, and the thing is that all faiths focus on peace, and all faiths focus on getting on with your neighbours, which is one of the things I always ask children at school: do you get on with your neighbours? And that's a really interesting discussion to have, because it's really important. All faiths talk about the qualities in your life you need to get on with your friends, to get on with your family, to get on with your neighbours, and to create peace, because we all want to live
it's true, isn't
a happy, peaceful life.
Lots of religions do have very similar fundamental things. And it's really interesting when you actually look at it like that. It's an important mindset.
And it is, and the more we share together and the more we talk to each other about faith, the overriding principles are the same.
So I know that you facilitate workshops in schools and colleges. What does this entail?
Well, we work with primary schools, secondary schools, college and university students, and we're a very small charity. So what that entails, we used to run a workshop, and we're still running it, but of course in the lockdown that hasn't happened. It's called How Do We Live Together? And that's really about the qualities and the elements you need to, how do you live together? How do you solve conflict? What qualities do you need? For example, exactly how do you solve the fact that you don't like your neighbours, or all these things? So how do we live together would be involved that people would all come into schools from different faiths, would come with 8 speakers from different faiths, and they all talk about the same theme. So you would have a whole year group, say year 9 at school, all going to different workshops, first to a Christian workshop, then a Buddhist workshop, then a pagan workshop. And also realizing the most important thing about that is that young people see that people of faith get on well.
That's really powerful. And I imagine, I wish that was there when I was in school, really, because I think, it was strange. In primary school, you kind of had RE, and that was there, and you did learn about a few different religions, but it wasn't very, specialist, or you didn't go really deeply into them. You just kind of washed over them, I found. And then when you get to secondary school, that kind of all stops unless you specifically pursue religious education. So, I mean, I would have really enjoyed that, I think, and learning about all the different religions, especially living in Cornwall again, because I feel when I went to London, I was like culture shock, because you're in Cornwall, and it's so different, and it's so almost exclusive. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of things that you can share and learn about people. And then you go to London, you're like, wow, there are so many different people, so many different faiths and races and cultures, and it was just incredible. And it was really quite powerful.
Yeah.
So having that workshop is really important.
I think you're raising a very good point, because it is not just about needing to learn about the world. It is also preparing people for even going to London or Bristol. because the diversity and then is so much different. And I think Cornwall is changing, but I think it's not really even of faith. It's just learning about the way other people live and the richness and the and how wonderful lives become when you actually learn about other people.
Yeah. Well, that's what life's about, I suppose, in a way, isn't it, really? Yes. Everyone should totally do that. So, move on to the next one. What are some of the works you've done in education focusing on peace?
Well, like I said, we do How Do We Live Together? But at the moment, we're actually working with, it's really exciting, Falmouth University. In the lockdown, we started working with second-year animation students. And again, because peace links with all work to do with faith, but this was about realizing for Cornish teenagers that everything is connected to Cornwall again. So I've been working with a wonderful lady called Cynthia, whose mother survived Auschwitz.
Oh wow!
So we've been working on her life. It's an amazing life. Her and her sister were the only two people to survive from a family of 200, and Cynthia, of course, and her son wouldn't have been born if they hadn't survived Auschwitz. So the second-year animation students made animations about the life story of Blanca and Clara, her mother and her auntie. And we're now creating a school pack. We're actually having a big teachers' conference in Falmouth University on the 14th of July. So if there's any teachers out there who would like to come, it's free lunch as well. And
that's the most important thing.
And it's a workshop to work on the material, but it will be a personal story at the heart of the teaching material. So, and also a story relating to Cornwall, because this is Cynthia who lives in Cornwall, and it's about her mother. So we wanted it to make sure that people realize that the Holocaust isn't just 100 years ago.
No.
But it isn't 80 years ago. But it's not ancient history. It's really important to understand that in terms of why prejudice is actually really important, why stereotyping is dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember that. I mean, a lot of it is ignorance, and I think it's also, I think people forget that it is your responsibility as a parent as well to make sure that your child is being respectful of different cultures. Because I remember in school there were some really horrific things, because that was around the time when there was a lot of extremism happening, and I just remember there were some awful things that were happening in school, and you know, that is really important, and just to make sure that you're being responsible in yourself, even if you don't believe in that faith, but having that openness to it.
Yes, exactly. And everyone has stereotypes, everyone, and we all need to realize that, but it's about just being aware of them and still being respectful.
Yeah.
And also most of it isn't because we don't know. We haven't been able to ask questions.
So community is a massive part of the Faith Forum.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the work you do about and sort of in the community?
Well, for 4.5 years, starting in 2016, as a community, we looked after 80 families. So there were 40 volunteers looking after families, introducing them to Cornwall, organising food. We did the whole settling into Cornwall, which was a very big thing, because Cornwall before 2016 had never had any refugees. And
Ever?
Well, in the Second World War, there was a class of Jewish children that went to London, to Fulham, to Mosul, and had an amazing time there, and were looked after extraordinarily well. So Cornwall has always been a very welcoming place to refugees. And so, but of course, when you come from a different country with a different language, in a school where nobody understands you, you don't speak English, that whole experience of...
Must be terrifying.
Must be terrifying. Can you imagine being a teenager?
And that's a difficult time anyway, and especially in any kind of hierarchy in school, you're really kind of trying to sort of find your ground in life at that point as well, and you're changing and you're learning about people, and if you're having such a negative experience so young, if you do, in school, that would be, I think, really fundamental in your development.
Very fundamental. So we did that. So that is the community, part of the community work. At the moment, the community work we do is just bringing people together, like the event on Sunday. So,
coming up to that then, the main event, the wonderful Diversi-Tea. which
Yes.
I love.
Because we've always, and you know, you probably the big lunch, but then we thought big lunch has already been.
Oh.
So we have to have tea now. So this means diversity, exactly. It's just about having a cup of tea and sharing food from many different cultures.
Amazing.
So this is again about, it's happening in our Peace Field, and our Peace Field is in Penmount. It's when you come into Penmount Crematorium, it's the first field on the left. We've been generously allowed to use this by Cornwall Council, which we're very grateful for. And it's a field with a peace pole. My son at the moment is mowing it in the shape of a labyrinth.
Oh, wow.
So that we can play in there. And so it's just about people bringing something from their culture or their favour, some food they're really connected to. It could even be, you know, we have a lovely person called Paul who walked for peace, and he walked all the way from Rome to Jerusalem.
Wow.
He's been on Chaos TV before, by himself. And I think he will bring his water bottle, because if you're walking, then the most important thing is water. And his water bottle from all his peace journeys.
Yeah.
I will bring something from Holland, because I'm from Holland, which I associate with childhood and something I really liked eating. And we'll have some lovely Syrian foods. Mahmoul, I don't know if you don't know what that is, but it's an amazing cake with dates or pistachios in it. And it's made to celebrate the end of the Ramadan.
Lovely.
For Eid, so we'll have that. And I think we'll share stories about why we brought this food, or we didn't bring any
That's
food.
going to be an incredible event, isn't it? There's going to be some really powerful moments there, I bet. So that is this Sunday, June 12th, 3 p.m. at the Dor Kemmyn Peace Field, the fabulous diversity event with Cornwall Faith Forum. So thank you so much for joining us for a chat today, Rita. And it has genuinely been great to hear more about Dor Kemmyn. And I hope this weekend goes brilliantly. And you have lots of lovely people and lots of amazing, delicious food and stories. It'll be amazing.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to come in.